So the topic issue is a big one because in the PhD degree would require you to uh, run and create a very rigorous research process, and that process will include the your contribution, which is going to be your subject in PhD, but at the same time, it's going to require a very significant way of organizing uh, and writing about your contribution, right? So it's not enough to say, okay, I'm doing this. You have to be very clear about what it is and write about it in a very clear way. And you have to find evidence or develop evidence for what you're trying to say, right? Master's program is something similar to that too, but it's a much lighter weight and it's more flexible and it's way faster. So you cannot really get super deep into what you're trying to do. You don't have to be as rigorous in your writing in a master's degree. Uh, and your projects might be more experimental, right? So these are the two big differences between what happens in a PhD program and what happens in a master's program. And this is very natural because if you think about it, you are entering a master's program most of the time after your undergraduate degree, right? So whatever your bachelor's is in, let's say B.Arch, that was mine, Bachelor's of Architecture, and you are a student at that point. To be honest, like you are not a you may have worked on research projects, but you're not a researcher yet. So a master's program will teach you. You will take the baby steps towards becoming a researcher, towards becoming someone who can make research and who can develop knowledge and who can contribute to the knowledge. So that's the big step. Again, waiting for the car to pass. So, oh, two of them. Okay, two cars. So, so taking the baby step and going through a master's program will teach you and will prepare you for the next step, which is the more serious step, right? So some people, of course, go in engineering. Of course, you can go into a PhD program directly after your bachelor's degree, undergraduate degree. But actually, that is also a split program, maybe. And the first 2 years of that program, or the first year of that program, still works like a master's program. Okay. So, why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because this will help you understand what you really need to do while you're applying to a master's degree and to a PhD degree, which are, again, because of their nature, your application will be significantly different. In the master's program, you will need to prove that you were ideally a successful student, a good designer, and someone who is ready to translate and transfer their working culture from making projects to developing projects and organizing those ideas and writing about them, right? It's going to be your first graduate degree that you can obtain. While applying to a master's program, you can prove those things: being a good student, being a hard worker, being talented, being skilled, and being a good designer for the design programs. And applying to PhD, that may or may not count depending on which program you're applying to. And the percentage of the design programs will be significantly lower than any other discipline, right? So you have to be way more specialized. And even if you are trying to stay in the design realm, you have to find a niche that is somehow getting technical, either highly technical or highly artistic, in a way that you can talk about that artistic style, that artistic part uh, and organize the ideas and the history about that artistic part in a very rigorous way. In that respect, it really counts. It really makes a big difference to make sure that you're going to the right place for the PhD degree, right? So a master's degree will be more forgiving, both in the application and both while you're taking it, right? While you're kind of like studying, because what's going to happen is that you're just a graduate and you just finished this school. You don't know what you want to do. You're interested in this and that, and let's say schools with hot names and hot instructors and good design programs. It's fine. You can go to one of them and you can prove yourself and you can deliver. You can make a project or thesis and finish the masters. And the admission committee will also filter your work out that way. So they will say, okay, this is a talented or skilled or ambitious person who wants to explore this and that, and he or she may fit into our program in this way or that way. And then the doors will open to you, and then you can walk in. And when you walk in, you don't have to exactly know what you need to do, and you will spend some time to figure it out. You can take many classes and at the beginnings of the semesters and then learn about them and then drop them later. This is called shopping. So you shop the classes and you learn about things, and you take what you think you need to. And so this is more like roaming and meandering and until you discover what you're trying to do, right? So and again, master's degrees want you to do that, expect you to do that. The PhD is not like that. Again, going back to MIT, usually the SMARCS computation program, the design and computation group, takes 7 to 9 people to the master's program and 1 person to the PhD. So the PhD is usually admitted on merit basis, because your expenses will be very high for 5 years and they need to be covered. So design and computation group can give you this like to 1 person per year or even less. Or you find external funding from your government, from your school or other foundations, and then you apply with that. And still, that makes the number of people 2. There has been times, I think, when 3 people were admitted in the same year, but it's very rare. And the reason for that is, okay, it's competitive, it's special, but beyond that, the study needs to go somewhere, right? So your, let's say, background need to be a proof that you would sustain the next 5 years and contribute to the knowledge, so they can make that investment for you, because you're going to cost the school around $500,000 for the next 5 years, and they don't expect anything in return. That's what MIT does, right? So they trust you by their gut and heart that you will go back and give something to the humanity through teaching, through working, through discovering things. So hopefully you and your research become useful for the humans. And while applying, the difference between a master's program and a PhD program is that you have to shoot very carefully. So you'll be shooting and you need to hit in the bullseye. You have to find the right school. First, the culture of the school should empower you and enable you and give the freedom to you to execute the research that you want to make, even if you don't know 100% what that research is. You need to know a little bit, but not 100%. That's fine. Second, you have to find the right program which will help you, flourish, and which will accept you, which will support you. And the program includes the faculty, of course, right? The professors. So you have to find the right professors to make that research, or you have to find, and actually not or, but and you have to find the right people around you. So the other researchers that you can communicate with. Again, you need to check, what happened in that school within the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years to see if you're a good fit. And statement of purpose, again, for that reason, will be significantly different, right? So for a master's, okay, you can say, as an undergrad student, or in my former master's degree, I did this, I did that, and now I'm interested in this and that in your school for this and that reason. And again, if there's a proven value there, and if people think you can do more by joining that master's program, they will they will be interested in getting you. In the PhD program, you will need to be way more explicit and clear than that, right? So you will need to, it's not like, okay, I did this project and I did this master's and I was successful. That doesn't really matter. It matters to a certain degree, and the rest would be about what you will be doing within that next 4 or 5 years, as I said, and what your potential contribution to knowledge might be, right? So, and why that potential can be released, can be executed and researched in that environment with that professor in that program. So you had to kind of like talk about that, right? So it's very kind of like, it needs to have these sharper definitions and edges. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much the difference. So these are pretty much the differences between applying to a PhD and master's. Just to give you an idea, I'm talking about the perspective of applying to this the programs at MIT in the design and computation group in the architecture department. And I applied to my master's degree in 2003, and I applied to a PhD program in the same group in 2010. So you can realize that I have 5-6 years between finishing the master's and starting the PhD, because I wanted to work, I wanted to be out in the world, and I wanted to explore some other things. So these rules would slightly change from school to school and program to program, but they won't significantly change in terms of what happens in while applying to a master's and or a PhD. So if you find this information useful, please share it with other people. You can check the first part of this discussion that I shared, which is about when to get ready for applying to schools for graduate degrees, what materials to collect, and what to attend to, what to be careful about. And that I think there is one more part in which maybe I can speak about living abroad, and because I spent around maybe 11 years in Boston, Cambridge area, and a total of 15 years in the US. And being a student is different, and it's good. It's a good experience, but it comes with challenges. So I can share some tips and tricks for that as well. So if you like the video, please share it. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm just doing this for you, and it's just fun talking about these experiences, and I don't want to take them, with me if I happen to leave too early. You never know what happens. So so keep in touch. Ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer. And take care.